I'm sure you've coached really fast surface swimmers that absolutely get destroyed during their open turns. It costs them races, and they end up swimming a lot slower than they otherwise could. That's what we're going to talk about today, and I'm going to go over some key ideas about what creates really fast open turns and the big picture principles that swimmers need to execute on in order to get through the turns fast so they can get right back into swimming and ultimately go faster than they otherwise could. Hi everyone, Andrew here, helping you help your swimmers get faster. And in this video, we're going to wrap up the series on starts and turns, and we're going to talk open turns. When it comes down to it, like the other skills, open turns are ultimately pretty simple. There are a couple things that swimmers need to do really well, and if swimmers can execute on these key simple skills, they're going to have fast open turns. The first thing we'll cover is that swimmers need to be really good about maintaining speed into the wall. The second thing is they need to be really good about getting the feet to the wall really quickly without rising up. And lastly, they need to get the feet in a position that allows them to push off in a really great line. That last piece might end up being a little bit controversial, but we can check out what some of the best swimmers are doing, and you can decide for yourself. So let's check it out. So if we watch the approach to the wall, what we're going to see here is that the swimmer is going to dive down and then kind of come back up. And the reason that that happens is it gives her a little bit of momentum to start rolling into it. Now her body is coming up into the wall, and then she can just roll her knees forward, and that's going to make it a lot easier to really switch directions. So if we watch here, what you can see is more than anything else, it's the rotation of the body as opposed to pulling the knees into the wall and having a kind of in and out motion. It's a lot more rotary. So you can see the whole body right here is rolling in and then rolling back. And so there's not a lift up out of the water. There's not any of that. It's really a rotation and a roll into the wall, driving the knees into the chest, and then rolling backwards. And that whole process is going to be facilitated by what she does as she approaches the wall. So again, on this last stroke, diving down a little bit and then coming up into the wall, which starts that backwards rotation, and then she just drives the knees in, rolls the body back, and then she's back into the swim on the next lap. So again, in terms of the approach, in terms of the actual turn itself, what's happening, she's going to dive down, rise up, and then roll into it. And so more than anything else, that's the key concept, is the rotation and the roll of the body, which really drives the actual turn itself. So we see the same dynamics here. Swimmer rises up into the wall, drives the knees forward, and then there's just a roll back, just rolling back to get this change of direction. And so more than anything else, it's not a lift. And you can really just see here, especially with this split view, his head, his shoulders don't really come up at all. It's purely a rotational movement. And the more that the swimmers can rotate and roll through the turn itself, the faster the turn is going to be, the less effort it's going to be, the less range of motion they're going to move up and down, and the more that they can really eliminate resistance and get it done fast. And that's really what we're looking for, and that's really what's important. So if we watch this swimmer here, you can see coming up into the wall and then really rolling in, driving the knees in, rolling back, and then getting in a position where he can push off straight off the wall. And so that rolling action is going to be really important. It's really what we're looking for, and it's the most important aspect of executing the turn. So right there, there's that roll as opposed to lifting or anything else. It's the roll that's really important for the turn itself. Now, the other aspect of the turn I want to talk about is that the roll is not a purely backwards one. What we're going to see is that there's a rotation to the roll as well. And so a lot of swimmers are starting to get their feet up on the wall and then getting them pointed down in order to push off the wall. So if we watch here, she rolls up, but she's rotating too. And if we watch the feet, they're pointed down when she's getting ready to push off. And so rather than having the feet straight up, which is kind of what's been traditionally taught, more and more swimmers are getting those feet pointed down and then pushing from that position. The reason I think that happens, I'm not sure if it gives them a stronger push, but it gets them in a position where they're in a much better alignment. By the time she leaves the wall, she's already almost on her stomach. And I think that helps them get a much flatter push. They don't have to worry about rotating, and it makes it a whole lot easier to get into the pullout from a really aligned position. And so a key aspect of the turn itself and moving into the pullout is, can the swimmer maintain really great alignment and really maintain their speed prior to pulling out? And so I think that when they rotate and get the feet down, they're going to get a much more direct push. They're going to be able to stack everything up in line and get a much more aligned push. And it doesn't take more time. One of the thought processes is that by rotating, it takes more time, and you can save that time by pushing off the back and then rotating to the stomach. But if we watch here, all she does is just combine the backwards roll and the sidewards roll. And so she comes up, she comes in, and she's just rolling in and twisting at the same time. And there's no hesitation, there's nothing. She just gets onto her stomach. This swimmer here is going to do it to an even more extreme degree. So if we watch him roll up, he's rolling up, and then as he rolls, he's going to twist as well. And he's going to end up right here with the feet pointed down on the wall, and that's going to allow him to push off with a really great alignment, really streamlined, and his feet are almost straight down. And so that's going to be a lot more effective in helping get a really great push, and that's a key aspect of a really great pullout. So even if it takes slightly longer to add that little twist, which I don't think it does, it's probably worth it if swimmers are able to push off in a much better alignment. So the better that they can roll up and then roll over at the same time, the more they're going to get out of the push, the more they're going to get into their pullout, the further distance they're going to get, they're going to carry more speed, and that means less energy too, because if they don't have to get up and swim, that's going to be helpful too. So you can see the feet are pointed straight down, and then he's driving off like that. He's going to have a really great alignment rather than twisting through. We take a look here. This is a world record swim, and so he's driving and he's getting his feet pointed almost straight down and then pushing right into it. And so he's rolling in, he's tucking, and then he's twisting, and then he's driving straight forward. He's getting those feet pointed up. And this is the same swim, so you can see the feet are pointed down on the right leg, and it's pointed completely sideways on the left leg. They are most definitely not pointing straight up, and that's going to allow him to drive straight forward, have a really stacked position, minimize the amount of resistance that he creates. And again, it doesn't cost him anything. If he's rolling and then just rolling the hips to the side at the same time, it's still a really tight ball. There's just a sideways rotation to that ball as opposed to a purely backwards rotation. So the rotational element of the open turn is really, really important because it allows swimmers to, 1, rotate fast, 2, not come up out of the water, and 3, transition to a position where they can get off the wall with more alignment, whether they're doing a pull-out, whether they're doing underwater kicks. Being in a straighter line is going to allow them to get more out of those kicks rather than having an arched back when they try to rotate or twist. They're just going to be all stacked up, all ready to go, and they can just push off without taking more time on the wall. They don't have to waste time trying to manipulate their position as they rotate. They can just kind of get into it right away. So it's a simple strategy. Swimmers just have to figure out how to make it happen. So if swimmers can learn the backwards rotation aspect of the pull and the sideways rotation, they're going to be able to get through their turns a lot faster, a lot more directly, and it's going to take a whole lot less energy. If you want to learn more about the key, simple aspects of an effective flip turn, check out the video below.